Now that it's 2025, all of Atlus's projects that were in the pipeline for the foreseeable future, which included Metaphor and the Persona 3 Reload DLC, have been released. This now begs the question, what is scheduled for 2025? Is this the year that Persona 6 is announced, or possibly even released? Before anything official is announced, I figured it might be fun to go over a few things that I'd personally like to see in the newest mainline entry of the Persona series. Ever since Persona 3 Portable, we haven't had the option to play as a female protagonist. The only other real taste we've had as playing as a female would be Maya in Persona 2, and Igus in the Answer DLC. I personally think that Persona 6 should break this trend and have two playable characters from the get-go. The most straightforward way to get this to work would be to have the protagonist be both brother and sister. By going down this route, I think it would be best to have these characters named or have default names that are used for the non-selected protagonist. This would also minimize the differences in the areas that the characters would need to access, and generally the social links would be the only major difference. The sibling character could also serve as a player guide, similar to Morgana's role in Persona 5, to help guide the player during the early stages of the game. This would also allow both protagonists to have their own evolving starting persona with their own unique moveset. The non-selected protagonist would also be the story-based social link, which would automatically increase so their persona could get more abilities. Only the player would have access to the Velvet Room and the Wildcard ability, while their sibling's persona grows naturally. Many fans of the Persona series would be excited to see Persona go in a direction where it leaves the high school setting behind, but I don't think Atlus will change up the proven formula for its next entry. But if this is the case, I would actually like them to take the game to a completely new Japanese city, potentially like Osaka or Sapporo. Persona 3 takes areas from around Tokyo as inspiration and is loosely based on Kobe as a location. Persona 4 is based off the regional Japanese city of Fufuki, which is located just north of Mount Fuji, and Persona 5 is literally just Tokyo. You can find my comparison video over here, wink wink. A new city like Osaka or Sapporo wouldn't be a stranger to Atlus, as these cities featured in the Persona 5 spin-off game, Persona 5 Strikers, so they could have actually used this as a research trip to find potential locations for the next mainline entry. I personally feel that Osaka could work really well with its proximity to locations such as Kyoto and Nara, allowing players to visit these locations very easily. I've also touched on this topic previously in a video about Persona 6's setting, but I wouldn't be opposed to Atlus changing things up by exploring a different time period, such as the late 80s during Japan's bubble period, rather than a modern setting, which the normal games normally take place in. Whether they just take the setting to a different time period, or even time travel plays a role where the characters are sent to the past, Atlus could have a lot of fun with the plot and having obvious nods to things that happen in the near future. While playing Persona 3 Reload, I noticed the lack of the weather system throughout the game. The original Persona 3 didn't have a weather system, and it was introduced in Persona 4, which tied directly into the plot of the game regarding the Midnight Channel. Naturally, I do expect Persona 6 to have a weather system where different days offer better rewards for certain activities, such as studying when raining increases the points earned for knowledge. But perhaps this system could extend to the social links and hanging out with your friends, where certain days could net you more social link points or rewards. This was somewhat explored in Persona 5, where you could hang out with certain confidants at different locations, and they could provide Joker with an item to decorate his room to commemorate the day. I believe having more events related to the weather and the social links may benefit the player better, so perhaps when the player increases their bond with their social link, they're also gaining social stats at the same time. For example, I would just use Persona 5's cast for this. On a rainy day, you could invite Ryuji to hang out the train, but he would advise against it. But you go for it anyway, and you increase your bond with Ryuji, but it also nets you some guts points by training in the rain, and it could also be topped off with a visit to the bathhouse to gain some charm points. I think allowing for more events like this will help characterize the social links a little bit more, and it doesn't always have to happen during a non-rank up event, and this will also just give you more choices when you're playing through a regular playthrough. One of my favourite additions to Persona 5 Royal from the original game was the inclusion of challenge battles. This was a mode where you could put yourself to the test, trying to build the right team composition for optimal damage and making sure you're hitting the score bonus to reach the target. These challenge battles also hosted fights with previous Persona protagonists from Persona 3 and 4, which these were really fun fights and you get to see the old protagonists use their best personas. These challenge battles did somewhat return in Persona 3 Reload, but it became extremely tedious where the battles would have you on such strict requirements where the boss would just simply kill you if you didn't follow the rules. This was like Elizabeth in the base game or Joker's fight in the answer. In my opinion, playing these fights just simply ruined the enjoyment of fighting these characters. In Persona 5, where you could fight the twins in New Game Plus, you were just simply tied to doing a certain amount of damage within a set number of turns, which I think is the perfect requirement, or even just having the best rewards tied to the highest score is the right way of getting to challenge players in my opinion. I think that could also include challenges down the line where they could bar certain party members or lock players to a level cap, so it allows players to become a little bit more creative with their Persona lineup. This could also serve as a great replayability tool for New Game Plus runs where you need to try out different Persona fusions. So let me know, do you agree with my suggestions for Persona 6 or do you have your own? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content covering Persona 6 in the near future, and we'll see how well my suggestions weigh up against the actual thing once it gets announced. But be sure to check out my other video covering Persona 6's time setting just over here. It was Dwayne here from DewyHQ. I'll see you next time.